It was a calm voice on the other end of the phone. No panic, no shaking, no urgency. At 9:10 a.m., a man dialed 911 and reported that his wife had taken her own life. But when police arrived, there was no gun, no shell casing, no evidence of suicide. Instead, they found a woman beaten so violently that investigators would later describe the attack as savage, personal, and deliberate. This is the disturbing true crime story of Lucille Ann McManus and the man who claimed to love her. Warner Robins, Georgia, a quiet suburban neighborhood where neighbors waved, dogs barked, and nothing ever seemed out of place. The home at 202 Wake Forest Drive looked ordinary, but on the morning of November 24, 2023, the day after Thanksgiving, something inside that house had gone terribly wrong. Lucille Ann McManus, 63 years old, would never walk out of that home again, and the person who reported her death would quickly become the focus of a murder investigation. At exactly 9:10 a.m., Brian McManus called emergency services. He told the dispatcher he had just returned from walking his dog. He said he found his wife lying on their bed. According to Brian, it was an obvious self-inflicted gunshot wound. The dispatcher listened carefully. What stood out wasn't just what Brian said, it was how he said it. His voice was steady, measured, controlled. No shock, no disbelief, no fear. Experienced dispatchers know that tone matters, and this tone didn't sound like grief. Police arrived within minutes. As they entered the bedroom, something felt immediately wrong. There was no firearm, no shell casing, no bullet hole, no blood spatter consistent with a gunshot. Instead, Lucille's body lay across the bed. Her injuries were horrifying. She had suffered severe blunt force trauma. Her face bore signs of repeated blows. This wasn't a single strike, it was sustained violence. This wasn't suicide, it was homicide. Lucille Ann McManus was 63 years old. Friends described her as trusting, kind, hopeful. She believed she had found love later in life. She believed her marriage was real. But behind closed doors, something was unraveling, and Lucille may have discovered a truth that made her dangerous to someone who had everything to lose. Brian McManus was 57. Originally from the United Kingdom, he was a former British police officer, a fact that immediately caught investigators' attention. Brian wasn't just familiar with law enforcement, he had been part of it. He understood how crime scenes were processed, how interviews worked, how evidence told a story, or at least how it was supposed to. That knowledge would soon work against him. As detectives investigated, the McManus marriage came under scrutiny. What initially looked like a late-life love story began to show cracks. Prosecutors would later allege that the marriage was not built on love, but on immigration benefits. According to investigators, Brian may have entered the marriage to secure legal status in the United States, and Lucille had found out. In the weeks before her death, Lucille reportedly threatened to expose the truth. To some, that might seem minor, but for Brian, it was catastrophic. Exposure could mean deportation, criminal charges, public disgrace. Everything he had worked for was at risk. Investigators believe this threat became the motive. Silencing Lucille meant protecting himself forever. The medical examiner's findings told a brutal story. Lucille's injuries showed repeated blows, extreme force, close contact violence. This wasn't a sudden argument. This wasn't accidental. It was personal. And once it was over, investigators believe Brian tried to do what he knew best: control the narrative. The lack of a weapon raised immediate suspicion. If Lucille had taken her own life, where was the gun? Why was there no blood pattern consistent with a firearm? Investigators concluded the scene had been staged, and the calm 911 call, meant to make Brian look innocent, only made things worse. He sounded rehearsed, prepared. Brian McManus was arrested and charged with murder. Prosecutors described the crime as calculated, cold-blooded, motivated by fear and control. A man who once enforced the law now stood accused of violating it in the most extreme way possible. This case isn't just about violence, it's about betrayal. Lucille trusted the wrong person. She believed in love, she believed in honesty, and when she chose to speak the truth, it may have cost her her life. But it also exposed the lies. A quiet house, a calm 911 call, a missing gun. Sometimes the most dangerous crimes aren't committed in moments of rage, but in moments of calculation. Lucille Ann McManus didn't just lose her life, she lost it to someone who knew exactly how the system worked and thought he could beat it. When love is built on lies, the truth can become deadly.